India needs, I mean, you need some physical energy to deal with any of India, but it's a wonderful country. Oh no, it's like the whole country is a spiritual teaching. It's an amazing place.
That's what I heard. Very comfortable. I like your bookshelf thing you're gonna have going on.
Wow.
Speak. My students laugh when I speak. My accent must be horrible because I taught myself pretty. So I always feel so inadequate.
In India, I didn't really learn much of the Telugu, but I learned enough so I could hear. And
hello, and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. We're going to have another very interesting show today. We are sitting with Dr. Kalana Becker, who has been authoring this book, Mana Cards, which is basically a Hawaiian divination system, much like the tarot, but based on the Huna teachings, ancient Hawaiian teachings, and they are very revealing. She recently did a reading of me, and we'll be going into that. She'll be kind of explicating the details of that as the show goes on, and you'll get to learn about this new innovative system based on ancient teachings. So thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is so interesting. How did you get into this? You have a PhD in communication from SUNY Buffalo, but you've been living everywhere, including Hawaii, for a while. Mm-hmm. What got you into this?
I think the thing that made me do it the most was that I love Hawaii. I just think it's the most beautiful, mystical, magical place that I've ever been. And so I have this very deep connection to Hawaii. And when I moved away from Hawaii to the mainland, I longed for Hawaii. I missed it. And
I can understand that.
And the images kept coming up.
Yeah.
And I used to use other divination systems.
Such as?
And then Native American deck, the Sacred Path cards, the ruins. And one day I was using them and there was all these Hawaiian faces coming in front, and I said, not me, not me. And I felt like the muse was going,
pay attention.
And so it became a drive, a call, an obsession.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's an interesting progression. Yes. Yeah, so you did it.
Yeah.
This is the result of how many years?
5 years of
5
research,
years?
yeah, and work, yeah,
Wow.
a lot of work.
And yet you've also been studying and researching the Huna teachings for, some 15 years or so?
Yeah, 15 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. Well, indeed, I don't think SUNY Buffalo would have considered this a form of communication that they were speaking of. But
my dissertation advisor said, Becker, you're going to the moon. What are you doing? Kahuna's on the moon. He said, you're absolutely crazy. And I was sitting at my computer.
Oh, is this part of your dissertation?
No, at the same time I was writing my dissertation, I got this vision. And I said, I'm sorry, I need to finish now because I need to go make this deck of cards. And he said, Kahuna's on the moon, Becker, you're losing it. And I said, I have to. And I was sitting at the computer doing a statistical program called regression path analysis. Now there's one for you. Talk about an ironic title. And I just couldn't get it out of my mind. I put down the computer, picked up the phone, charged it to my graduate student credit card account where they give you a $500 limit, and bought a ticket, and
you were off to the moon. You know, what's interesting, of course, is the lava flows and the lava formations look very much like the moon. So he was righter than he realized.
Probably,
you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting. And Hawaii is also very much the embodiment of the feminine. Has been my experience of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Pele, of course, which is feminine. I don't know if that's the word, but truly, actually, it's the deepest, perhaps, archetype we've got.
Very, very powerful.
So there's something, he was wiser than he realized, perhaps. So why don't we actually look at the cards and perhaps look at what I chose, and you'll walk us through, would you?
Okay.
The path, because there's nothing like seeing.
All right.
And what Kalama revealed to me was so interesting and timely. It's awesome. So you're going to be learning a lot about me and what's been going on in my present life. It was quite exciting and synchronistic, to put it mildly. So, voila.
Okay. Let me just first say that you chose a reading that involves 7 cards, and there's several different options of readings in the book.
Yes.
And the reading that you chose has to do with 7 different levels of awareness, and this is developed out of the teachings of Dan Millman, who wrote The Path of the Sacred Warrior, the Peaceful Warrior.
Yes.
And
we've had Dan on the show talking about everyday enlightenment.
Yeah. So, and you could have chosen other readings to do other things. There would have been one on health, one specifically that looks at a certain relationship, a tarot reading, which is the parts of the plant that has to do with the roots of a problem.
Not tarot as in tarot cards, by the way, but the taro plant, which is indigenous to Hawaii and is their staple, actually, and it's considered a sacred plant.
Very sacred. They believe that the Hawaiian people and the plant grew right out of the soil. That's their ancestor, their sibling, their older brother. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So, nice
Beautiful.
connection. So I originally was going to call it the Hawaiian tarot, right?
Yeah.
And then spell it.
Oh, that's cute.
But then I figured all the people that use tarot decks would say, she doesn't know there's another T. And the Hawaiians would say, what is she trying to do? And so to be respectful and to be clear, we changed the name. But the tarot image is very strong.
It's mana from heaven.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be thought of that
The
way
tarot's
too.
there, though. It's surrounding the whole thing.
Right.
And yeah, it's part of my vision. I believe that as the tarot returns to Hawaii, so will the indigenous ways of life and the reverence with the land. I see that coming, because one of the things that happened as a result of colonialization was that the tarot started to be eliminated, the way of life, and you take a people's sustenance, and it's easier
Right, and jeopardize it.
Yeah,
And you
so
have jeopardy of the culture.
yeah, so it'll be really great to see that rebirthing.
Good, absolutely.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Very high level work, that is.
All right, so want to talk about your reading? Okay, it's going to hang out. This reading has 7 cards. Why don't you make the tower since it's your tower?
Okay, what we'll do is we'll show it and then we'll lay it down. We've done some inserts anyway. Okay, so we're building a tower from below to above. Do you want to speak about the cards?
Okay. The card at the first level has to do with what's basic for survival. And the way this tower works is that there's 3 lower levels and 3 upper levels. And the middle card is the service, the gateway card, so kind of like the opening to the divine. And so you have your 3 levels that have to do with your earthly material existence. You have your passageway, and then you have 3.
Survival, sex, power.
Yeah, survival, sex and creativity, expression. Sometimes we express ourselves sexually, sometimes we express ourselves creativity. The cards are very sexy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Hawaii is a very sensual place, and you can see the plants, you can feel the place, you can almost smell the flowers, and so we put sexuality and creativity together here.
Yeah.
And then you have your power, and then this is the service, what's being required of you by the divine to move up into the higher realms. And then we have inspiration, communication with the divine, and then the 7th level, which is the highest, almost unity with the divine, self-actualization, samadhi, satori, that place of reverence that we all aim to be in.
God knowing.
Yeah.
God union. Sure. Now, needless to say, all of you who are familiar with the chakra system from the Hindu culture can see the relationship between the Huna way and that, and there is indeed a true correspondence, which is obvious.
Yeah, one thing that we like to do is when I do this kind of work, I give the person I'm counseling, or you can do this if you were reading your cards on your own, the word for the cards, because the Hawaiian language, if you've ever heard it, is a very powerful language. It's 12 letters. It's all based on tones and sounds and vowels.
Lots of vowels.
And so when the words, when you hear the chants, when the names of the cards are chanted, you think of each of the 7 chakras, and that kind of revitalizes, brings back the whole meaning of the reading and helps you recharge.
Absolutely.
So you have a chant that goes with this particular
I want to
spread.
say something, Kalana, actually, kind of to step out of the frame for just a moment to kind of set a context for this.
Okay.
And it's just my way of seeing, so people understand. We speak about a divination system. In a sense, we're not really talking about predicting the future as such. That's not the essence of this.
Good point.
This is more kind of a reading into a penetration of the moment, where things are right now on a level of movement, in this case, my life, or in anyone's life who was to throw this, and to kind of penetrate also the characterological steps that need to be progressed for my own full flowering, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, or your options.
My options.
Rather than need, because it also sounds like fate, and it's not. It's really about your choices. So
That's
here are
true.
your
Thank you.
highest
Thank you.
choices, and
Yeah.
take the path and go this way, and you can end up in a nicer place than if you choose to go this way. You might
Right.
still end up in a nice place, but you got to go here, you got to go
That's
there.
right.
you
It might
stop.
be the harder pathway.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's right. Now, it's not a question of need. It's a question of chosen evolution.
Right.
And it's yeah. Okay.
I'm glad you brought that up about divination, because I wanted to say that this system was my system. I developed it. It's based on Hawaiian mythology, Hawaiian stories, Hawaiian archetypes, but it's important to realize that Hawaiians didn't have a card system that they used for divination,
Right.
but they did divine. They used clouds, they used water, they used bowls of stone bowls with water in them,
Yes.
these parts of animals. They were
Yes.
a very divining people, and really the divining act is just a form of communication, and hence the circle with
right.
the communication. It's communicating with your inner self, your higher
That's right.
purpose.
Intelligence. Another way, another language to use, if you will, is the idea of delving into one's deepest realm of unconscious. Some people may think that if you quiet down enough, it's the collective unconscious. So there is kind of a perfection in the moment of the choosing, just as with the I Ching, for instance, or any other system of similar
Yeah.
sort. So with that in mind,
Here we go.
Go ahead.
Into the world of Mitchell's life.
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting in an overview, first of all, let's say that if you look at the spread, the thing that comes up in his spread is that there are many cards that deal with relationships, and certainly when we start at the most basic level, we have a card that has to deal with relationships, and this is the Tapa card. And the way that I read the cards is that I start with looking into the word, and if you look at the different Huna traditions, many of them had to do with breaking down words for their linguistic roots. The Hawaiians are a very intelligent people, and within their words they put all kinds of secrets. And sometimes there'll be a word such as kala, which means forgiveness. It's related to a plant, and it also has to do with a type of herb that you could eat by the same name that removes bitterness. So here you have forgiveness removing bitterness in both the visceral level as well as the spiritual level.
It's literal and symbolic.
All right, so I'm not going to go into all the aspects, but in the book it talks about the specific plants that are involved in the image as well as the image. Then there's a proverb or a part of a chant that has to do with the symbol in the card. Then there's a teaching, which really gets into the culture. If you're interested in learning about the culture, it's a real nice way to go in and say, okay, what was tapa? Tapa was a bark from a tree that was pounded to be clothing
into a fabric.
And then there's the interpretation, and those are mine. And what some people do is they read it for the information and then they chuck the book and they have their own way of seeing their cards, which is real interesting. There's no right and way here. It's kind of like, the thing to remember is the vehicle for you to see things differently, and it's a lens. So with that in mind,
it's a cosmic nudge.
We'll go through with his bottom card, his most basic need, and it has to do with tapa, and it has relationships. And it could be any relationship, a business partnership, an association.
That doesn't look like a business partnership.
A very intimate relationship. This couple here is wrapped in a marriage tapa. And in the olden times, they used to wrap a couple in a white tapa to show that they were two of one cloth now.
Yes.
And it
It's
has
very
to do with a
beautiful.
very interdependent relationship. One person moves. If you're in a cloth with somebody, you go backwards, I'm coming with you.
That's right, exactly.
So really it has to do with the nature of interdependency. And the interpretation has to do with then, because when we're in close relationship with another person and we are interdependent, being aware of where our boundaries are, being clear about what our obligations are. Because people like to believe, a lot of talk I hear in the 70s and in the New Age is, we are totally separate from one another. And in some ways we are, for our one, we're both separate and joined. But in this card, you're you and I'm me, and we're connected. And so, Hawaiians believe that when you have a relationship with someone, you actually get a cord between you, an aka cord.
Aka cord, yeah.
And those can get tangled, those can get jerked around, we do pull on each other. You think a thought and I'm 200 miles away and I feel that thought. So his most basic need here, your most basic need, has to do with clear relationships and very, very intimate relationships. Something's playing out. It doesn't say go meditate in the cave, okay? You're going to get yourself filled through contact.
By the way, I just had a Jungian-oriented astrology reading, which says that my life actually has its most transformative function through relationship.
Wow.
And in fact, in that, it's all relationship, but it also has a particular focus on personal, intimate, man and woman relationship.
And indeed. The next level has to do with that creativity level, sexuality, expression level of Mitchell's life, and he's very conscious. This is one of the 5 cards in the deck that has what's called a reversal. And it's not a reversal where there's like a negative and a positive, because in Huna, ultimately everything's positive because you have choice. And so It's not like you get this card and it's in this position and it's all downhill from here.
Sure.
It says, hey, look out for this. Walk around, but it doesn't say it's all negative. And in this card,
there's always a positive to any situation.
And in this card, it's the night and the day, and it has to do with the daylight of consciousness. The eye here is open and the sun is shining and it's aware. So you express yourself in an extremely conscious way. And
when I'm conscious.
Yeah, you need to also be aware of that, especially in your relationships, right? What is it you want out of these relationships?
Yeah.
And then maintaining that integrity to express that clearly to the other people in the relationship. The next level has to do with the level of, I forgot.
Power.
Empowerment. Gosh.
We're consultants.
I told them I'm hiring them after the show's over. This level here has to do with personal power. And what his card shows here is its affection. And I asked, do you want to tell the people what you saw when we looked at the image? Do you remember?
It looks both like caretaking of the female, which could be an outer female, but it's also, more than anything, the inner feminine, I feel, which is, I think, best represented by our hearts. And so this was kind of, to me, a symbol of being kind and gentle with my own heart, my own love, and the vulnerability that comes with that.
It's a beautiful image, and the card at this level has to do with power, and the image has to do with affection and cherishing that which would give affection. The card is called lei, and it has surrounded by it, this is a beautiful maili lei, which has to do with peace, is used to symbolize peace. And the child around the person's neck is like a lei also. And it talks about the obligation that we have when we share affection with another person. That once again, that there's this interdependent relationship that goes into effect. And if we don't treat them with cherished value, with affection, or if we aren't being treated the same way, we lose power. We get drawn, we get drained, those energy vampire people that we all have in our lives. That card is saying specifically, your relationships are very precious, and they can be a source of power for you. and likewise the other way around.
Sure.
And so to be very conscious of
Yes.
that connection.
Yes, yes, yes.
Then we get to the fourth level, and this is kind of what you call the key card. This key card here is what is being required, what action is being required of you right now. And this is Naupaka, and Naupaka is a flower that grows both at the ocean and both up in the mountains, and it's half a flower. And it has to do with history that says that one time the flower was unified, but because of various things like jealousy or class or parental, kind of a Romeo and Juliet story, the flower was severed.
That which divides.
And it has to do with separation. And there's even a ritual that is talked about in the book that's called an Oki ritual, which talks about a permanent separation. And this detachment can be from a relationship or a specific person, or even a way of dealing with a specific person, a new way of being with that person. Mm-hmm. So it was really interesting to me because before the show you were talking about things in your own life that had to do with detachment, and that card came up there. It's
basically
amazing.
The change of a very intimate relationship that I've had for the past 3.5 years that I've been in, and that just at this point in time there is a changing of ways, and what comes up also, I should say, a meeting with someone else with whom detachment is the way to be at this point. So it's in a central place, actually, in the middle of everything you see here, and it's actually very much seated in the middle of my life.
The next card is called Huna, and it has to do with hidden, things that are not yet revealed, and it has to do with the mystical hidden. It comes out of the teachings of Serge King, who's done a lot of work with Hawaiian stories and Hawaiian traditions.
Yes.
And it's about a very powerful type of under the surface magic, if you will, that has to do with being present, being loving, being confident, and these are all the source of his inspiration. That this is going to be the source of what's going to inspire you in the time to come. Once this detachment thing is worked out.
Yes,
something that we don't know yet.
Detachment, if you could say, through the process of detachment, and that's not just to other human beings, but that's also detachment from any number of different aspects of life, even to certain desires, thoughts, habits, what have you. So,
yeah, and one of
this opens up through the
Right.
detachment, through that sense of discipline. Actually, this opens up the inner world, the hidden, the unknown begins to unfold. And if I could just bring to bear the relationship between this system and the chakra system, this is the point of the throat. This is the throat chakra. And as Taurus, I am ruled by the throat. So the art of communication is going to be unfolding further while all of these things are being kind of activated, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next level is what you're communicating with spirit, and it's as if you got a direct line, and it's saying, okay, Mitch, here's what you're going to get, and here's what, I want you to give, and it's kind of this exchange, and it's all about initiation. This card is Lehua, which is a beautiful and very delicate flower, which grows on a tree. It's the first tree that grows back after the lava has poured out onto the volcano. Very, very delicate flower. And it's also a westernmost point in the islands. And the bark, it has to do with a time of becoming the expert, becoming the master. And one of the things that this card teaches is that when we've undergone initiation, it's very important to see ourselves as we are, not as we were. And so not acting out old patterns, not acting out old ways, but being present in the new Mitchell, the Mitchell who has gone through the detachment, has revealed the hidden parts of yourself and has spoken them and become them, and then initiated into this fuller, more vibrant being.
Wow. Yeah. That brings us to the top
the top of the card is iwi, which is bones, the word for bones, and it means respect. And the Hawaiians have a proverb that translates, do not bleach your bones in the sun. And bones are very sacred and the most precious thing. And in this card, we're talking about respect and unity with the divine. So it's almost as if you will be respected for your divinity and respect others for their divinity, and that will be that will become part of you. That will be integral to what you're attracting in your life and what manifests. Just that deep reverence and respect will be your highest peace that you'll get as you climb your tower.
Because you said the 7th position is the place of peace and abundant joy. And
yeah, unity, oneness.
Unity, right.
It's it. And so at that point, there'll be that beautiful respect.
The apotheosis.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And in that position too, there's always a lesson, and it's the importance of again, after you're initiated, realizing that you have the right to ask for respect and to give respect, and that's the thing that will bring you that unity with the divine. So you'll be respected in your new position as your initiated higher self. So if we draw a map and we go back to the whole picture, the thing that's the most striking is that there's all these things going on with these relationships, and even this one, because there's the bones here, and then the soul rising out of the bones.
So that's even a relationship card in itself of the physical to the divine, or to the spiritual, and self to self,
right,
and self to other.
Right. Do not bleach your bones in the sun. You don't need the soul to be exposed, because the soul's in. It's a oneness. It's inside, and so going through.
Also, don't scatter too much. Actually, keep the bones in place.
Exactly.
If you will. Yeah.
Exactly.
Keep a form.
Yeah, and so that's the relationship with the self and with the divine.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of relationship going on.
Similar
to your Jungian analysis.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is just gently kind of remind you to think of the cards, Tapa, Au, Le, Nopaka, Huna, Lehua, Iwi, and kind of go up through your chakras and just, relationships, conscious, cherishing with affection, detachment, mystery, secrets, initiation, and respect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much. Really, this has been revealing to me, and also clarifying and affirming.
Good.
Definitely.
Great.
Just a comment before almost out of time here, on a certain level. You said in the deck, which is a beautiful deck, by the way, there are 5 main, maybe including this, you could say 6 relationship cards, of which there are 5 out of these 7.
Yeah.
Or more strictly speaking, 4. And then there's 1 initiation card in the entire deck, and that showed up in the 6th position.
Yeah.
Which you had commented on as being kind of striking to your eye, which is interesting to me. Well, this has been just wonderful. I so appreciate your having taken the time to create this and share it with the world. I really hope it serves many people, and I'm sure it will.
Thanks.
God,
Thank you.
absolutely. We've been speaking with Dr. Kalana Becker, the author of this lovely book, Monocards, Hawaiian Divination. It's a new system based on ancient teachings, and it's been wonderful to just be part of it, so keep up the good work.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.
E malama pono, which means take care.
Thank you so much. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. Please give a call at 212-420-0800. Share your thoughts and feelings with me, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.